morning, everyone. Thank you for being here for Focus Friday. Before we start, I have to give a shout out to Sarah for our excellent music selection this morning. And most Focus Fridays always appreciate the music suggestions. Music is her love language, as we all know. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. Rainy morning here in Grand Junction, but we're super excited to have you here, Michael, joining us for a little conversation on global luxury market, some trends. We've got some good stuff today, so thank you for being here, Michael.
I love it. And I love that it's 8 o'clock my time. So hearing this music to kick off my day is great. I know Todd's like, where's Purple Rain? Everything's good for this time in the morning to hear that. I'm happy to be here. So thanks for having me. It's great to be on this.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna jump right in. So quick little intro for you, Michael. Michael joined the Coldwell Banker brand. It's just over a year ago, so happy 1 year anniversary, a little bit late, as vice president of the Global Luxury Program. So Michael has over 15 years of experience, just about every aspect of the real estate industry. So new development, technology, brokerage, design, development, public relations, creative. So lots going on there, and we can personally attest to that last one. I know you and I and Sarah have had some really great creative kind of marketing strategy sessions. So always appreciate all of your insights and ideas there. So we're really excited to have you. Just going to kind of dig deep into some things that are going on in the luxury market. Of course, we can't leave out marketing. That's kind of my thing, and I know it's yours as well.
It's so gonna talk. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. And mine too, as you know. So we will have a few kind of tools, resources, things that you should be doing to kind of adjust some of the shifts in the luxury market. But let's just kind of start out. What if you could just kind of talk about some of the trends, the changes you're seeing? What are you seeing in the market over the last, say, 6 months or so that have been kind of different and new?
Yeah, definitely. And by the way, thanks for that wonderful introduction, that bio. I'm just going to have that I'll just take you on every call of mine. That'll be wonderful. Just that beautiful introduction. So it's been a roller coaster. Let me put it this way. Every market is seeing something different. So when we look at trends, there's some markets that are kind of insulated and still in an inventory crisis, if you want to put it that way. So rate hikes and others are not affecting those markets as more as others. Then if you look at other markets which are still luxury, which are a little bit more price sensitive, I want to say, they've kind of hit a wall, prices have adjusted and so forth. The biggest trends that I've seen has been, there's a little bit more opportunity now for buyers who were kind of previously pulling back. They weren't wanting to jump into this rat race. I don't know. I'm sure it was kind of the same as where it is where you are. Multiple offer situations, kind of a very deflated ego, if you want to speak about it that way. But there's an opportunity here. So on buyer side, there's a kind of a sense no one wants to pay higher rates, but I think there's a sense of not wanting to jump into a frenzied type market, knowing that an offer that you would make would be kind of similar to where the ask price is. There's more of this delta in between where the offers are and where they end up landing and products closing. So that's one opportunity. In terms of other trends, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call this a trend, but there's been price corrections. There's been price adjustments, but it's really been kind of calculated and done with data. What I've noticed is that agents are really leaning into, this is the price that the homes need to be priced at. This is really where we need to land. So there's more of a discussion on realistic expectations, which I think is kind of the whole piece with this. But with trends, it's so tough because markets out here and certain upper echelon markets are, if you see the news, they're kind of doing just fine. There's still some elasticity with pricing, but it's a mix. Overall, though, there's still positivity and optimism throughout, no question, but we're entering a shift. So I think that creativity will kind of be key over the next few months, in a roundabout way of saying it.
Yeah, definitely. And what are some ways, like, how do we message that when talking to clients? How do we kind of get that across? What are some kind of ways that, we can convey that and kind of, get to the facts without, buying into all of the frenzy and whatnot? What's the messaging there?
what I've been doing is comparing a lot of where we are to pre-pandemic levels, because a lot of what we see now is comparing 2021, which was a record year by all means. And I hope we continue to have years like that. But if we kind of position the conversation and say, all right, let's look at what we were pre-pandemic to 2019 till now, we are so far up. We are still up. And it's almost this, at least on my end too, this responsibility that myself and others have to kind of tell the strength of the resounding real estate market. Doing so, yes, by comparative analysis, but the fact that consumers are, we're leaning into the fact that this is a long-term type investment, and real estate has always been that solid investment class. Daily fluctuations in other markets and cryptos and stock markets and bonds and so forth, you name it, are taking the headlines. But for the longest time, real estate has just always been that asset class. So what I've been doing personally is the conversations I've been having with people are compare it to larger regions. Don't compare it to a year that was astronomical and out of this world. It's one thing to do that, absolutely. It catapulted us to a whole new level, and we all had incredible years. But compare it to where we are pre-pandemic. And those conversations have led into more conversations and have led into, kind of a realization like, wow, we're doing well. Or, we're still up. And we're up in a good way. So my investment, even though that I bought, when I bought here, when I bought there, we're still up. And I think that's true for every market. Every single market. One of the things too that I know we'll kind of talk about later is that I've picked my favorite economist, and I follow him. So I've been telling people, pick your favorite economist, whether it's on Twitter or if they have a social following, it's easier because I can only take little digestible bites. Pick your favorite economist and find out what they're talking about, and just hear little bites, daily bites. I follow, I think you guys know Elliot Eisenberg, the one who did the Wealth Builder series with Coldwell Banker. He's great. I follow his things every day, get little emails from him, and I just kind of have a sense of what's going on. So I take data, I take current economic conditions, and I try to make sense of it on a national scale. If that helps.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, that really speaks to, you have to know your numbers and, nationally and also for your specific market and be able to speak to those in conversations. So yeah, really important, great advice. What else, in addition to kind of being that expert in what's going on in the market, what else are you seeing agents do to kind of successfully adapt to all of these changes? What are kind of the things that are working?
They're being creative, and I love it. It's kind of back to the basics is what a lot of this is. It's back to the basics with, actual property marketing, number one, because we'll need to do more to get to a larger group of people who might want to perhaps purchase a home or list. But it's kind of back to the basics with individual agent marketing. And I love that because it gives us the opportunity to say, how am I using my voice to differentiate myself amongst everyone? But moreover, how am I using my voice currently to be the leader in this space in terms of having these conversations? How am I able to have these conversations with my clients and prospective clients about what's going on and make sense about what they need to know for that decision? So I've seen some amazing creative pieces, mostly on social media, but I've seen a lot of people using reels and cutting things into, here's the 5 things you need to know, or here's what's happening this week, or here's what's happening that week. I saw another agent host an Instagram live with 2 others, and where were they located? I believe Boston, Midwest, and one other location, kind of just talking about what they're seeing. And I thought that was so clever, so clever. So aside from that too, the one thing I've seen in terms of creativity has been kind of this newsletter, these newsletter updates. And I personally love those. I think that we don't do enough of those. I try to push out more of them, but I don't know if anyone wants another email from me. But I think it's nice to give people something that they can digest on their own, in their own time, and put out the data and the information that you want, and also too, it doesn't all have to be, datas and numbers. It could really be, here's what I'm seeing, here is what I see, because Carrie, you and I often have this conversation, and I have it with other people. We can't often keep up with the data. And then once we get the data from where, let's say it's the previous month, the previous quarter, it's already changed. We're in this market where it's constantly evolving. So the most vital data is speaking to your other colleagues and seeing what's going on in your market, other markets. So in a roundabout way of getting to your question, it's been creativity on all aspects, but doing so in a way that kind of portrays the message appropriately.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I kind of am taking away two pieces to that. So there's the property marketing, marketing your listings, but then also building your individual brand. So let's stay on the topic of social media for just a second. And I know this is one, Jeff, that you had a question about. Are there any like social media platforms? We know Instagram Reels and live videos are really big right now. Is there anything specifically for kind of within the luxury space that you're seeing be really effective? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Instagram? What are you seeing?
Instagram will always be there. I have this conversation with a lot of people, and my response to this will be different from the next person's response for the next person's response. Everyone kind of has their own thing with social media. Instagram to me is kind of a given. The way I look at Instagram is it's an extension of your brand. Someone's going to go to your website and they're going to go to your Instagram. It's going to be a little mix of both. And when they go to your Instagram, what are they going to see right away? And how much time do they have? There's this top 9 grid that I tell people to focus on. 3, 3, 3, your little post. Granted, with Reels, there's different sizing if you hit the Reel side of it, but there's 3, 3, 3. So when someone goes to your website, and then they immediately go to your Instagram, because I'm sure many of these things are linked, what is the first thing that they are seeing in those 9 boxes on Instagram, your top 9? I know we've joked, you've seen these things. Oh, what are my top 9 for 2021? If you've seen those things before, this is a different way of looking at top 9. This is your first impression to whoever is visiting your Instagram page. It's an extension of you. But I think that with LinkedIn, you brought up a good one. At Engage this past year, in LA when were we? June. It was a few months ago in June. Danielle Garofalo was our social media speaker. She joined Lindsay Listansky on stage. Danielle pointed out to me and to many others that LinkedIn is the largest home to multi-million-dollar net worth individuals, and that agents aren't using it enough. It's interesting that their algorithm caters completely differently to Instagram. LinkedIn is kind of more of this information source and this way to get data out in a way that has a larger following in the industry you're in. Instagram is very much kind of now video driven, focused on, yes, certain content and creativity for sure with Instagram. But I think LinkedIn is, and I have to do some more digging onto her data, but she's saying that the majority of the wealthiest individuals in the world are on LinkedIn versus Instagram, so that agents should be dedicating more time to Instagram. To LinkedIn. Lastly, TikTok is fun. I'm not on it. I see a lot of people having fun with it. They'll kind of double post on Instagram and TikTok, which you shouldn't always do because they'll catch it. But I don't have much on TikTok. I really do think that LinkedIn and Instagram are great ways to get your message out, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a great point about LinkedIn too. I mean, we know, if you're a commercial agent, you really need to be on LinkedIn, but really the same goes for luxury and probably everyone else too, but especially in that luxury space, and there's so much competition on social media that if you can find a little space where you're not competing with quite as many others, trying to get people's attention like LinkedIn, I think it's really worthwhile. And then I loved your point too about the first impressions. Like, what is someone seeing when they first pull up your profile? Is it, a photo from 10 years ago and an old, website link or something? So really kind of going through and taking a fresh look at, what are people seeing? And there's lots of different things, like the little Instagram highlights you can do, just to kind of make sure, what are people seeing?
And also, it doesn't need to be all work. I went onto someone's page and it was perfectly and beautifully curated. I mean, you went onto this and it was just a beautiful thing. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, what is this? Like, am I looking at a website or do I want to know who this person is? There's a way to balance the two. there's some fun stuff to balance it, but it's, you have, I think they say you have, I think 3 to 5 seconds to get the impression from people when they first go to your page, and that number keeps ticking down with the lower amount of attention span we all have.
Yeah.
So I read about this often. So we have a quick little bit to make an impression.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I love the idea of incorporating lifestyle too, make sure that your brand includes, everything about where you live, and a lot of it, whether it's, your ski resort town or mountain biking or whatever it is, kind of incorporating that into your personal brand, I think is really important. Just kind of sets you apart. And again, just kind of makes you kind of, a real person, relatable, that someone's going to go to your page and maybe spend a little bit more time there than they might have otherwise.
And then contact you from there.
Yes, exactly. Always the goal. So we got a couple questions in the chat before we move on from the marketing kind of side of things. What is the ratio you recommend a luxury agent spend in time/advertising dollars on property advertising versus brand building? So what's kind of the happy medium between spending on properties and spending on, brand building for themselves?
I'd say it's situational, meaning when you have a particular property, you want to spend the most amount of time to getting that listing sold, making these clients happy, doing what you need to do in the moment. But when you have a little bit of extra time, and when you're able to kind of focus on yourself, and if we have some extra time, that's the one to do it. I never want to say take away time from what you're doing on a property side. Your goal is to give these clients unbelievable service so that they can refer to you. They can look back and say you gave 105%. Absolutely. But if there's periods of time where you're out there and you're able to, whether you're scrolling on Instagram, you're going to, here in LA, they have something called Caravan. You're going on Caravan on Tuesday and looking at all of these open houses, and you're just getting ideas. That's research. And no one says you have to kind of do it all at once either. But I would say you have the listing, go first, please your clients, and then focus on you. That way, there's not that there's downtime, but when you're not focusing on something with a definitive timeline or deadline right there, then I think you can go into your individual agent marketing and your own branding as well.
Yeah, along the same lines, Jeff's question, is there a typical budget an agent should be prepared to spend on to properly market a luxury listing? He's heard 10 to 15% of GCI. Is that about right, or is that situational too?
I've never heard 10 to 15% of GCI. I've always heard many different percentages. I've heard looking at your marketing budget, looking at the listing price sale. If there's a whole different, again, I'd say that's situational. If I had to guess, if I'm thinking in my head, 10 to 15% probably sounds right. At this point, though, if it was a particular listing, let's say, there's ways in which particular listings can also help elevate your brand. So if you wanted to do something a little extra, knowing that it might not have a marketing return on this property immediately, but more have a return on you, that's different. Meaning, you have the biggest listing of your life. You've been transacting in the 3 to 5 million space. You now have a $15 million space. You might do a little bit more on your end, yes, to promote the property, but then use it for future marketing. So I'd say that's kind of situational, but 10 to 15%, I'd have to look that up. I've never heard that one. I've heard percentages based on sale price and all different numbers, but I haven't heard that one before. So I'd have to kind of calculate that in my head.
Yeah, good questions.
Yeah,
and Heidi had one more question in the chat. What trends and projections are you seeing in the luxury market in resort markets compared to traditional?
In resort markets, we're seeing a little bit more, from what I've been reviewing right now, is some more price elasticity. There's still a depletion of inventory. So it is, no matter what's going on in certain markets, the inventory has not caught up. So we're price sensitive. Yes, there's still not enough inventory to where we need to be. And this is true in resort markets. Another trend I'm following, which I haven't gone through all of the data on it yet, is that there's this focus on smaller footprints, meaning secondary and tertiary homes are now of a slightly larger desire. The scale of it is a slightly larger desire than it was previously, meaning it's not necessarily the primary home that they're looking for in resort markets, but it's perhaps a smaller pied-a-terre, secondary, tertiary. So That's what I've seen thus far. We're compiling this report, which you know about, called the trend report. And funny enough, after this, I'm getting some data on smaller footprints. We'll have some information on it, but that's one thing I'm seeing in resort markets right now.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm super excited about that trend
Yeah.
report. You said it's coming out in October on Gen Blue time?
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. We've been like, every day the data is changing. So I've had this conversation with the data people. I'm like, let's just go to this tape. We just got to go to here. We got to get it out. We'll be changing this all the time. Just got to do it. Just got to get this out.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to see that. So Savannah has a question, which leads us into our next topic. Anyways, perfect transition.
Yeah,
Networking. How, if an agent is newer to the global luxury space, how do they expand their network?
that's a great question. Number one, the message I'm trying to get across to people is that we are, the global luxury program, if I can point to it with doing it correctly, is a program on the listing level, but then we have a designation aspect, meaning that if you go on the global luxury site, agents who are there are luxury certified. So they've gone through the course and they have the transaction qualification to be on the site. So the designation part of this program is pretty critical. Number one, in the fact that, if you're looking for a true global network, we are a true global network in that our global luxury agents have qualifications through education and transactions. So that's a powerful message right there. But if they're newer in the industry, there's a few things that I recommend. Number one, take the certification course that we have coming up. That one's not till February. I realize it, but the biggest misconception is that you have to have these transactions to take it. No, you can absolutely take this course and use it as a stepping stone. Listen to what people are doing. Take notes. Please take that course. After you take that course, and if you've already taken that course, you get a 2-year membership to the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing. Start there, because they have some great pre-recorded sessions on everything. Diane Hartley, who oversees it, works hand in hand with us. There's some Coldwell Banker agents. There's some Institute information. Start there. See what you can gather. You don't have to do it all at once. And then take our course. The other thing too, I will say, is go to the industry events in your area. When I first started, and I loved going to these things. I ended up seeing similar people. I ended up being involved in their conversations. I ended up following them on social media. The biggest way you can build your network is by going out and meeting the people. So there's the virtual component, and then going to the places to meet these people, whether there's local chapters in something. I just joined out here, Real Estate Alliance, the LGBTQ plus Real Estate Alliance. And there's local chapters out here, and it's members from all different organizations. So I'm going during the week sometimes here in LA just to meet people and just to hear what they're hearing, be up to speed on those things. So I think there's ways to do it specific to that market, but in a long roundabout way. Take our course and become an Institute member.
Yeah, awesome. And the events too.
And go to as many as you can. I mean, you don't have to go to every single one, but I mean, that's your network. I mean, especially too, philanthropic events where your target consumer is there. I mean, that's a given. That's a given.
Yeah. Awesome. So what about, a newer, maybe global luxury agent trying to find or expand their sphere of influence, outside of the referral network of Coldwell Bankers Global Luxury? Do you have any tips for, a lot of our feeder markets are out of state. Any tips for those agents?
If you're kind of new to the luxury space and you see a trend in that agents are coming from Los Angeles, I keep using that because I'm here in LA. Let's say agents are coming from, or clients are coming from Southern California and Los Angeles. You have a whole network of people. That wasn't me. You have a whole network of people that want to connect and refer to you. So reach out to these people, go on the site and say, hey, I'm here in this market. I'm seeing clients from your region come here. I'd love to talk to you. Facilitate a conversation. The best way I can say is to say, can we hop on the phone? Can we chat? Can we FaceTime, whatever this is? Don't just leave it in an email. Hi, I'm Michael. Nice to meet you. If you have anything, give them a name. So that way, when there's agents, when really, if I'm here and I have a referral, no, I got to call Carrie. Carrie and I spoke the other day. You're top of mind. I would say go straight to that aspect. Use that. I mean, again, if you're newer too and you're trying to expand, just make those connections. Find out what's going on in those regions where you can then also be involved. Maybe you can advertise in something out there. You know, there might be ways in which your social media, by the way, if you have reels and you're on a business page, you can boost those posts to certain regions. So you can be creative in your digital marketing to go along with what you're doing. So a mix of things.
Yes, perfect. I'm sensing a common theme here. Creativity is a big one.
There's so much competition, Carrie. We are in a highly, highly competitive market. Not only are we competing for very few listings, there's all of us from every industry, from every company competing for this one listing. So it's getting in the room. And then when you're in the room, making that best impression possible and just kind of cutting out everyone else to say there is no one that you need to go with but me. So
yeah, love that
competition.
Awesome. Well, we got about 3 minutes left. I want to make sure anyone has any last minute questions. I know that went super fast. Please put them in the chat. Lorianne, we will be sending out the recording. We'll be posting it on Inside Track today, and it'll also be in This Week at Distinctive, your weekly newsletter. And then Todd asks, what is the rule of marketing by sales price that you were referring to? So you said you hadn't heard of one by 10 to 15% of GCI. What have you heard?
The one that I was going on was when I used to do luxury new development condominiums, and we took the total sell price of the entire development, and of the entire selling price, 2 to 3% was the entire marketing budget, but that was including creative and advertising, renderings, digital assets. That was creating the content as well. So I mean, that was the one I was referring to, as I'm joking here on this end. That was the one I was referring to, which doesn't apply to resales. That kind of only applies to the condo development aspect. The other one I heard was, I have to look it up. It was 5 to 10% of something. I'm stumped right now. I'll look it up and I'll shoot him a note. I'll find out what what someone had told me not too long ago that I clearly forgot.
Sounds good. Thank you. So as we wrap up, what are some things, anything coming up with your team in the global luxury space that we should be keeping an eye out for?
The trend report. Keep an eye out for this report. If you've been with global luxury for a while, you know about A Look at Wealth, which was this report that we put out in the fall. We scrapped it and said we wanted to give you, the agent, something that you can take and give to your clients and have a conversation about what's going on in the market, but in a way that has a very positive spin. So in a way that has a positive spin about what we're doing, confidence in real estate. So look for that trend report. It's coming out October 23rd. And if you're at Gen Blue, we're launching it there.
Perfect.
There's a lot more, but that's just a highlight.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait. Well, thank you. I don't see any other questions in the chat, but this was so helpful. So much great information here. Michael, we always appreciate all of your insights. Can't wait for the trend report. And I'm sure those who will be at Gen Blue this year will be looking you up. So
please come say hi. And thank you, everyone. I am so thankful for what each of you do every single day. You all make this the best company possible. I really think that we're the most amazing team. So
awesome. Totally agree. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Michael. Thank you everyone for being here. Hope everyone has a great weekend and happy Friday.